Okay, this is going to blow your mind. I want you to try to watch this without looking away. And I know it might be hard, but just trust me, okay? Watch this, don't look away.
What was that?
How was that? Is that fun for you? This is a film that some are calling one of the scariest movies ever made, and I kind of agree with them. Hey everyone, welcome back to Skinamarink, the only show on YouTube where we stare at a wall for 2 hours and pay for the privilege. Just kidding, I love the movie. Today I'm going to be trying to talk about a few different things. Why I think the movie is so exciting, not just as a movie, but also for the future of horror media in general, especially independent horror media. Why you should or shouldn't watch it. I'm not going to try and persuade you to watch it. I'm going to try to kind of prepare you and give you some reasonable expectations going into it, because I know that if I did not have expectations managed going into it, I probably would not have liked it as much. And also we're going to talk about some theories as to what the hell is even actually going on in the movie. Skinamarink is not a typical movie at all. There's very little dialogue, and for a long time there's also almost no discernible plot. We watch as two children wander their house at night, searching for their parents. And we get to witness the problems that occur as they realize their parents are nowhere to be found. I believe that Skinamarink is a masterpiece at immersing viewers in the setting of the movie. But at the same time, as a movie, it has its flaws, which is why I think context and setting expectations beforehand could increase any given person's enjoyment of the film. Watching this movie is like descending into the depths of hell. There are long stretches where nothing immediately obvious is happening, but the tension just starts to build and build and build until you're sure you're seeing something out of the corner of your eye in every single shot. The movie's biggest strength, in my opinion, is the incredibly unsettling and almost oppressive atmosphere, which was largely created by the admittedly strange cinematography choices. Looking at these shots reminds me of a lot of recent ideas that have taken hold of the horror community's collective imagination, such as liminal spaces, the back rooms, and grainy found footage media. A major theme I've seen explored by lots of current horror media and video games is childhood trauma and a Lynchian fear of everyday objects and locations. Artists taking the familiar and twisting it into something unrecognizable and almost malicious or evil. My point being, if you enjoy things like the Backrooms or the SCP Foundation, you will probably enjoy Skidamarink. I believe the success of this movie was almost an inevitable culmination of everything that's been happening in the online horror community for the past decade or so. And that success is also important in the overall landscape of current media, but I'll get more into that later. This movie rewards patience and attention to detail, and seems to have a rich story woven through it for those who seek the lore out. The tone of the movie starts to just beat you down till looking at hallways and doorways scares you. At its heart, Skinamarink is about a malicious entity who seems to possess a house and then mentally and physically torture its inhabitants. One of the greatest strengths of the movie is the director's choice to tell the audience absolutely nothing. There is definitely a story here, but you have to pay attention and piece it together using the context clues provided. Despite saying that, I'm going to try to explain my own personal analysis of the movie to you and my interpretation of the ending. As the children start to realize their parents are missing, they try to continue living as normally as they can, eventually getting scared and bringing sleeping bags, pillows, blankets, and toys to the living room where they stay for most of the rest of the movie. One interesting thing to note is that the main boy Kevin is said to have hit his head right at the beginning of the movie. So it's possible that everything that happens is a dream or actually hell. The entity possessing the house starts to subtly mess with it in tiny, unnoticeable ways, such as making entire doors and windows just stop existing. The creature seems to be able to control individual objects' gravity, as well as make the kids see things that aren't really there. There are lots of camera shots from the children's point of view, but funnily enough, we almost never see what the children actually look like. I think the director made this choice specifically so the audience could put themselves in the shoes of the kids. Kind of like how Bella from Twilight is sort of a blank slate for you to put yourself in the position of. If you've ever sat up at night, staring at the ceiling or wall, watching little motes of imperceptible light pulsate around your vision, as you start to work yourself into a terror over the smallest noise or imagined spot on the wall, then you're gonna understand this movie. The feeling of cold dread over nothing tangible, the desire to hide beneath the covers but the unwillingness to risk moving. This movie taps into that almost universal childhood experience and creates an atmosphere that simulates that feeling. Every shot of a grainy hallway or corner of the wall as the camera slowly zooms in then suddenly darts over to something else is made with this intention. And it is truly incredible to witness it done with such accuracy. If you've ever experienced or felt sleep paralysis, this movie kind of feels like that. But what makes it even better is that there's no truly noticeable scary thing that happens until way later in the movie. But then you get stuff like this. And then afterwards you're left squirming with the knowledge that something like this could be waiting in the darkness for you at any given moment now. There is no safety and there is no security. By really drawing out and pacing the scares, it makes every scary moment that much more memorable. The entity itself is incredibly mean-spirited and seems to toy with its prey. It calls one of the kids upstairs and then shows her her dad. In a masterclass of tension building, the dad asks the girl to look under the bed. She does so, agonizingly slowly, and we as the audience are so ready for there to be some monster under the bed or something to jump out at us, but then nothing happens. And she slowly turns back up, and the dad's gone. On the other side of the bed, however, is her mother, who tells her that she loves her, and she needs her to do something. She needs her to close her eyes. The girl trusts her mother and closes her eyes. And then when she opens them again, her mother is gone too. Then she slowly looks around the room, and only then does the creature do something drastic. Later in the movie, the entity tells the boy Kevin to take a knife and put it in his eye. And he does it. And it's sick and sad. Then near the end, we get to watch blood go flying down a hallway and hear Kevin screaming and crying. But then the blood vanishes and it goes flying again as he keeps crying. This part almost made me cry and it stuck with me the longest, and I believe it's the creature making Kevin hurt himself, then rewinding time and making him hurt himself over and over again. And the scary thing is, the screaming changes. That doesn't rewind. Kevin is aware of the repetition. He's feeling himself die over and over and over again, being put through this excruciating pain. There's a moment where this 4-year-old boy attempts to call 911, and for a brief moment, we hope and pray that he could be saved. He tells the operator that he hurt himself with a knife and that he feels sick. The person on the other end asks if there's anyone with him. Then we watch as the phone drops to the floor, turned into a Fisher-Price toy telephone by the entity. There's a reoccurring theme of communication restriction throughout, as the girl gets her mouth removed so she can't talk, and the boy can't call 911, which reminds me of truly believing there were things like monsters under the bed and having no way of communicating it or talking about it without people saying no. There's this pervasive feeling of isolation as the house starts to feel like it stretches out never-endingly. There is no end to the bleak nightmare, and no one is coming out of this alive. Another interesting element of the film is the film within the film, more specifically the cartoons playing on the TV as the horror unfolds. Each cartoon adds to the overall creepy vibe the movie was already dripping with, but they also serve as a sort of practical guide to help us poor viewers understand what's happening. They foreshadow different events and kind of give clues and hints as to what the entity's motives and powers are. To use Kevin's repeated death near the end as an example, it was foreshadowed by the entity playing and rewinding this tape over and over and over again. Yeah, this movie is viscerally upsetting, and I would not recommend it for the faint of heart. A lot of people who disliked the movie said it was overly long, but I kind of disagree with that. I believe that it was scarier because of the length of time it took to set up each scare. Like, I understand why people wouldn't love it, but I think if you have the patience for it, it's one of the first examples I've seen of analog horror being done really well. But I want to emphasize something here. I went to see this movie with some expectations. I knew it was an art house movie, and I knew it was experimental. It took a little while to get used to the extremely heavy film grain, but I was able to sit and razor focus on the movie. Even the jump scares were great, and I normally think jump scares are very, very lazy writing for horror movies. However, my initial impression of the movie was neutral. Also, the theater I was in turned the lights on when Kevin says, "Can we watch something happy now?" Which those of you who have seen the movie will know that's not the end of the movie. There's like, I don't remember exactly how long, but it felt like there was 5 more minutes of film with the lights on. Kind of ruined the immersion, which was, I don't know why they did that, but oh well. The truly upsetting nature of the movie was the lingering fear, the feeling of sickness that stuck around, going over and over the scenes in my mind, getting scared walking to my room in the dark, wondering if there was a toy telephone waiting for me on the floor. Because the movie didn't explain anything, my brain was left with a lot of holes. So naturally, my brain starts to try and figure stuff out and connect dots and find patterns, which leads to the current state I'm in as I come to my own understanding of the nature of the entity and what its motivations might have been. And I'm filling in the gaps myself. I have always felt that people can scare themselves better than anyone else, and less is more when it comes to effective horror. And this movie is a perfect example of that. I actually have a few theories about exactly what's going on and what it could all represent in the grand scheme of things, but I'll save that for a possible second video. My intention here is to simply say, if you like this kind of thing, don't miss out. Watch it on Shudder when it releases, or go see it in the theaters if you can. And when you watch it, have all the lights off, focus on it, like completely focus on it. Don't be distracted by like your phone or anything else. And yeah, you might come away a changed person. And then I have one final point to make. Movies like Nope, Smile, and Barbarian, and stuff like that, a lot of mostly unconventional, mainstream, current horror movies that just came out have been receiving incredibly positive attention, both online and in reviews and in people that I know. But even more important, in my opinion, was the unprecedented success of Terrifier 2. And now you might be saying, "But Daniel, what does this have to do with Skinamarink?" And that would be a valid question. Terrifier 2 was a vast improvement over the first Terrifier movie and made Art the Clown one of my favorite slasher horror characters in a very long time. But it's an indie film. It was mostly crowdfunded and made with a budget far lower than any normal mainstream movie. Yet Terrifier 2 defied all odds and went on to gross over $13 million, which brings me back to Skinamarink. Skinamarink was written, directed, and shot on a budget of $15,000 by a guy named Kyle Ball. Rather unfortunate name. Kyle Ball had a YouTube channel called Bite-Sized Nightmares where he would make horror short films, including one that ended up being like a proof of concept for this one called Heck, which is also terrifying and really cool. And if you want a taste of what Skinamarink is like, I'm going to link it down below. Everything about this movie was incredibly independent. And do you want to guess how much money it's made? Leave a comment down below. How much money do you think it's made before I tell you? On a budget of $15,000. It's made over $1 million. This is a huge deal, man. This is crazy. I am a huge fan of horror and creepy, weird media, as you may already know if you've seen literally any of my other videos. And each and every success of an independent filmmaker means something. I'm tired of Disney making remakes and uninspired sequels all the time. I'm tired of blatant fan service. I'm tired of nostalgia baiting. And I'm tired of big budget art being turned into a corporate entity that treats its audience and its creators as statistics in a machine. By supporting new movies, original movies, boundary-pushing movies, and artistic expression in general, not just movies, we, you and I, are effectively changing the landscape. We are not just consumers. We are excited and passionate about media that's cool and interesting and deserves all types of support. Then on the other side of the same coin, we are not just content creators. We are artists, passionate artists, excited to share our vision with the world, whether or not it's polarizing or different. All of this is just to say, go watch Skinamarink if you think you would like it based off of what I've told you in this video. It's a bit tedious at first, but it's a delightfully weird and deeply disturbing movie. And I, for one, can't wait to see what Kyle Edward Ball does next. One other interesting thing about this, there were only 3 other people in the theater when I went to see it. One of them walked out halfway through. After the movie ended, the other 2 people started talking to me. I think it was a dad and his daughter, probably. I have never left the theater feeling so confused and intrigued by something as to start a conversation about it with some total strangers, and them also feel the same way. I've also never seen anyone walk out of a movie theater before. It was just a very cool experience all around. This is a movie you have to let yourself get lost in. As we approach the end of the video, and as I crave social validation, my Instagram account is getting close to 1,000 followers. It'd be really cool if you'd follow me over there, and also on Twitter, and also on Tumblr, because I'm very funny. And also there's different stuff on all of them. So you get lots of different sides of me, you know? So you should totally follow me. Each like on this video equals 1 toilet that vanishes from some random house in the world. Be careful, the next one might be yours. I think it'd be pretty hilarious if we got this video to 1,000 likes as a funny haha. Be sure to tune in next week where I will be going to sleep, as I was told, like a good little boy. Bye everyone. All of my friends are getting married. All of my friends are right with God. All of my friends are making money, but art gets what it wants and art gets what it deserves.